Welcome to this week's one-on-one interview. I'm really excited to have James here from UNC REX. Thanks for being here, James.
Hey, you're welcome. Glad to be here.
So the reason I wanted to talk with you is just this little thing about reopening. Restaurants have started reopening. You guys had your dining rooms obviously shut down. Tell us about where you guys are at and how you are actually reopening.
Um, sure. And we could actually go back about to about February of last year, where we started an initiative to revamp our grab and go. At that point, we went through a phase of renovation here, where the main kitchen was shut down for about 6 months. And in that time period, we closed Kardia and turned Kardia into sort of a airport style kiosk where all we did was grab and go. And we used our kitchen at Kardia and part of our dining room to produce all of the food for the whole hospital that was hot for about 6 months. In that time period, we developed a really robust grab and go program, which allowed us to, the moment COVID shut us down, immediately switch from full service to a grab and go program that was already successful and had already been in place. And we were able to just immediately run that out.
So you unknowingly did a pilot test run for COVID.
Yeah, we did. We didn't know that's what we were doing it for, but we did. I mean, all we basically had to do was open up all the drawers and pull out all the pictures of all the grab and go food and, tape them back up to the wall. And, basically any cook in the whole hospital could have come in and just started making all the things. And so that over the last 3 months has developed into a brand that has actually been very successful, and it's driving our sales in a different way. 3 months ago, we didn't know where we'd be right now. And we can see this isn't going to go away anytime soon. So it's really helped kind of reinvent what our hospital food was for the past 3 months and going forward. So that was really good. As we've opened back up, we've obviously had to change our hours around a little bit so that we can have more time for cleaning and basically just condense our hours down so that it doesn't take as much labor to do our normal service. That's
And how do
probably
you condense those hours down?
Well, we were open from 7 to 3 every day, and we did a breakfast, and then we had kind of a lull, and then we do a pretty good lunch, and then we close down after lunch. And what we've done is we're using the morning hours to produce grab and go, which is, like I said, still a really robust program. And about half of our sales for Kardia are coming from that, where we're actually taking that to our other retail location and selling that stuff over there. And so we're only open from 10 to 2 right now, more like a brunch style hours actually. And so that's kind of the way we're looking at things right now. We've kind of redone our menu to where it's more of a brunch style menu. We have some breakfast options, we have some lunch options. That way, it's, people in the morning can get eggs and things. Hot off the grill eggs haven't really been that available for months here in the hospital. So they're pretty excited about that. They're also excited to get back to our lunch options, flatbreads and things that we do like that. We basically took our top selling things and condensed our menu down as well. So condensed hours, condensed menu. That was really important because we had to re-examine our whole style of service, as everybody has, where there had to be less contact. We had, self-serve kiosks where people would place orders. So we took those out of the dining room. All the condiments and things went to pre-wrapped single service type items. Like I said, we had to condense the menu down. We actually even restructured the layout of the line, of the cook line, so that our menu could be produced a little quicker, but also the cooks could stay away from each other, so we could create some social distancing on the line there. Yeah. Because we couldn't just put plexiglass up in between people. Everybody's wearing masks and things, but you still want to create a distance, from folks if you can. We had to look at the flow of the restaurant. We used to be very much a market open, just kind of free for all. You could go left, right, forward, back, whatever you wanted to do in our area. So we had to structure that where there was an inn that would lead you past, our impulse buys and our grab and go items, and drinks and things of that nature, and then lead you to a cashier where you would order your food, and then that would lead you to the waiting area to wait for your food, and that would lead you to the door to leave. So that was probably the biggest challenge, is how would we turn our freewheeling market style area into what I call a Z style line, where you come in and kind of zigzag a little bit, and then it leads you out. So there's only one way in and one way out.
Okay.
You probably see that everywhere, at a lot of places.
Yeah. And what about the payment? How are you guys handling that? Because that can potentially be a lot of touching.
It can. And, what we see a lot of is a lot less cash.
Okay.
People aren't using cash as much. We thought about the idea, especially right at the beginning of COVID, and when it all came out and everybody was very worried about touching. I brought it up. I said, should we get rid of cash altogether? That can be difficult in a retail location, especially in a hospital where you want to be able to take care of everybody no matter what. So if you have a patient family member that comes up and they don't have a credit card or something like that, not being able to take cash can be really not good. You got to have that option. We decided, but we have seen a lot less of it. We do have, staff and guest safety has been our number one concern going through all this. So as you see in most places, we've put up plastic shielding for the cashiers. So when people come up to them, everybody's got on masks, but even then there's an extra barrier with the plastic shielding, so they feel a little safer. Just a lot of training with the staff, making sure that they're not licking their fingers when they're counting cash and things of that nature. It's all these things that you've always done in the past that you start to think back on it and you're like, that's probably why I got colds all the time. And like I said, spacing out the cook line, creating distance there, enhanced cleaning, cleaning down the credit card machines that people are touching, which honestly, if you think back to before COVID, like that hardly ever happened. Like it just wasn't, you might wipe them down once a week or something, or if they're noticeably dirty, but it wasn't something that was happening all the time.
Right.
And it's really good, actually. And, that's some of the things that after this pandemic's over, I think, some of the very positive changes are going to be the extra disinfecting and things that are going to stay with everybody. I think, it will in our culture. I don't think that stuff's going to go away anytime soon. And we were able to use the time actually for extra training with our staff. We got our entire staff certified with ServSafe.
Oh, great.
In the downtime that we had while we weren't officially open. And we also, here in North Carolina, we have an incentive that the Restaurant Association and some other groups got together with the health department. And they did this Count on Us NC training that they put out. And you were able to take that. It's those pretty short videos, and it was all about reopening in the midst of COVID, of the pandemic, extra steps to take and extra training and things to look out for. So we had our whole staff go through that training as well. And everybody got a certificate from both of those, and we framed them. We got them up on the wall to really show our commitment to safety as we open back up here. So.
Yeah. And you talked a lot about the staffing side of things, but you have the other personal interface, which is the customers. How are you guys dealing with customer flow and the amount of people who can come in at a time and kind of keeping that section on track?
Right. Yeah. I would say that we, in the past, we're way over what our limit of customers is at this point. I would look out in that dining room, there'd be 100 people out there sometimes, and we're allowed in North Carolina to have 12 people per 1,000 square foot in your space. And so we counted up our square foot. We're allowed to have 24 people in there, and we're just very diligent about it. And actually the way we have it set up, and we have dots on the floor where, every 6 feet as you're coming through the line, and, people they're starting to get on board. I mean, this isn't new to anybody. Everybody's been doing this for months. So they see these dots, they know what it means. They know stand here, don't, clump up together. And with condensing the menu, with rearranging the cook line, we can get the food out really, really quickly. And then we basically took all of the seating out of our dining room and pushed it out into the hospital. One thing the hospital wanted to do is create more dining space throughout the hospital, because we realized there wasn't enough dining space for all of our coworkers to safely dine, where they're not all sitting 4 people to a table, with their masks off and stuff. So they were fine with us kind of taking over the hallways and things that are outside of our restaurant. And it worked out really well. We put all of our tables out there, spaced them apart, but 1 chair at each table. And so instead of like kind of sitting down right there in the meat of where everybody would normally be, like I said, they kind of go through a little line there, and then once they get their food, they pretty much have to leave if they're going to go sit down anywhere. I honestly haven't seen more than like 15 or 20 people in there at once, so it's been working out really well with the flow.
Great.
Yeah.
And last question for you. I know a lot of hospitals, a lot of other operations are either going through or about to go through a similar situation as you guys. Any advice that you could give to people on opening your cafe or your restaurant up again? Any lessons you guys learned?
Do it slow. Do it over achieve and under promise. Like if you try to go out full bore with exactly what you're used to do and figure that you're going to be able to do it the way you always used to be able to do it, it's not going to be successful, and it's going to be a headache for you, and it's just not going to work. You really got to think through every little detail, every little process. What is this going to look like? What's the easiest way to do this? We often do it, restaurant folks, we've done it we overcomplicate things. We always want to be better and better, and drive and that this isn't a time for that. This is like, what can I do the best, simply. We run an operation here where we have 140 to 160, depending on staffing levels, coworkers in our department. When we're fully open, we have 3 retail locations. We have patient services that serves 1,500 people a day, and we're down people at this point, as all hospitals are. Nobody's replacing coworkers right now. There's budgetary issues and things of that nature. So at any point in time, we could have to take some of my coworkers that I have at Kardia and repurpose them throughout the department someplace else where this section of the department needs help right now. And if I'm doing too much and I'm stressing out our staff to where if we lost one person we couldn't accomplish it, that just wouldn't work. So you got to make sure that you can be a couple people ahead. Always make sure that if you were to lose a couple of people or you had to transfer them around someplace else, you could still accomplish what you're trying to do. So
I think that's fantastic advice. And on that, I want to say thank you so much for being here and sharing your tips for reopening. Thanks, James.
Sure. Thank you.